right. So today we're going to take a deep dive into the work of Tillie Cole.
Okay.
And we've got a pretty good mix of stuff here.
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts from Goodreads and a couple of interviews and even a blog post from Tillie herself.
Right.
And I guess just to set things up for our listeners,
Yeah.
we're not really interested in just doing a straight biography.
Right.
We really want to get into what makes her tick as a writer,
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing that's so different and that's making people love her books?
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really interesting is just how much her background is this kind of a mix of almost kind of scary. She describes it herself.
Yeah.
But, you've got this Scottish English heritage.
Right.
She's from Teesside, which, I'm not exactly a romantic hotspot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But you see that upbringing in her love of like HP sauce and Yorkshire puddings.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then she's got this other side where she talks about, frighteningly foul-mouthed episodes of pure rage. Like, I want to know more about that.
Right.
Like, where does that come in?
Yeah.
Does that Teesside thing make it into her books at all?
It's subtle, but I think it's there.
Okay.
There's that kind of groundedness, a sense of community and a resilience that you get in her characters that I think really speaks to, that kind of industrial working class background of Teesside.
Yeah.
They feel real, even when they're caught up in these like larger than life romances.
Interesting.
It's like people you might bump into at the pub.
Yeah, that's so interesting because then she goes off to Newcastle University.
Right.
Gets a degree in religious studies.
Yeah.
And even goes back and gets a teaching certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not exactly your typical romance author trajectory.
No, not at all.
Right.
And it's fascinating how much that kind of academic background comes through in her writing.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to deal with heavier themes like grief and loss and even social justice stuff, but it never feels preachy.
Okay.
It's like she's layering that in, underneath the glitter and the steamy scene.
Okay, so let's talk about the glitter because she is all about that camp and glitter aesthetic.
Yes.
Like, it's a signature Tillie Cole thing. So for those who maybe aren't familiar with like the romance scene,
right?
What does that actually look like on the page?
Well, think about those over-the-top declarations of love,
Yeah.
those grand gestures, maybe even a little theatrical.
Okay.
And her heroes, they tend to be these larger-than-life figures.
Right.
Often, literally, she loves the muscled and tattooed types.
Yeah.
But there's a real playfulness to it, too. It's like she's winking at the reader, acknowledging the tropes, and then kind of subverting them with this wit and intelligence.
So, she didn't just decide to be a writer one day.
Right.
There's that great story about her telling her husband she could write a book.
Oh, yeah.
After every single book she read.
Yeah, after everyone.
It's amazing.
It's classic. I love that her husband finally just said, just bloody do it. And it says a lot about their dynamic. And, honestly, I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling.
For sure.
Having these creative urges, but needing that push.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually take the leap.
Yeah. So before all this, she had this nomadic phase.
Right.
Following her husband around Europe.
He was playing rugby.
Yeah. And before that, she was teaching high school social studies for 6 years. Wow. Like, I wonder how those experiences shaped her as a writer.
I mean, the travel, the exposure to different cultures,
right.
All that time spent with teenagers.
Yeah.
It's got to feed into her ability to create these characters that just feel so authentic and relatable. Even the cowboys in her Calgary set books, they've got this depth, this vulnerability that you wouldn't expect from your typical alpha hero.
So speaking of cowboys, she's living in Calgary now.
Yeah.
But she describes herself as like aspiring to be a barrel racing tasseled chap wearing Stetson sporting cowgirl. Do you think that frontier spirit, that yearning for wide open spaces, like, does that come through in her writing at all?
Absolutely. I think it's woven into the settings.
Okay.
The sense of adventure, even the pacing of her stories.
Yeah.
There's a boldness there, a willingness to take risks that feels distinctly Western.
Okay.
Even when the story isn't set in the American West,
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Sweet Home.
Okay.
That's the book that really kind of caught our eye.
Yeah.
And it's not just a standalone. It's actually the first in a 4-part series.
Right.
Which is a pretty big deal in the romance world.
Yeah, a lot of readers really love that quick emotional payoff of a standalone.
Yeah, so what do you think she gains or maybe even risks?
Yeah.
by committing to a series.
I think it's a smart move, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
It lets her really dig into these characters and their world in a much richer way.
Right.
Series are huge right now.
Right.
But it's not like she's just following a trend.
Yeah.
She's really good at world building.
Okay.
You're not just falling in love with the couple. You're falling in love with their whole world, their friends, their families, the whole community.
And that community seems to be like a really big deal in Sweet Home.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're talking about a group of bikers, right?
Yeah.
Not exactly your typical romance novel setting.
Exactly. And that's where that blend of like camp and glitter, like the dark and brooding comes in. These bikers, they're tough. They've got their own code, their own way of life. But underneath it all, they want love and connection just like everyone else.
Right.
It's that contrast, that unexpected vulnerability that makes them so interesting.
It makes me wonder what those serious themes
that she's known for might look like in that context.
Yeah.
Like what kinds of issues would realistically come up?
Well, motorcycle clubs, they often have their own internal conflicts, power struggles, loyalty issues.
Yeah.
Maybe even run-ins with the law.
Right.
And then there's that whole outsider element.
Yeah.
How they interact with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The prejudice and misunderstanding that can create tension.
And you can't forget about the danger, too.
Right.
The potential for violence.
Yeah. She doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
The darker sides of these lifestyles.
So it sounds like she's walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
You want the excitement, the thrill.
Right.
But you also want a believable love story.
Of course.
That doesn't glamorize, dangerous behavior.
Right.
Do you think she pulls it off?
From what I've seen, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And I think that's a big part of why people love her books.
Yeah.
She's creating these intense, almost operatic romances in these gritty, realistic settings. It's like she's saying that even in the darkest corners of the world, love can still bloom.
Okay, but how does she do it? Like, what's the secret ingredient?
Well, for one thing, she's just great with characters.
Okay.
Her heroes, they're complex, they're tough and brooding one minute and then tender and vulnerable the next.
Interesting.
They're not perfect. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
But they're ultimately redeemable.
Okay.
And her heroines, they're just as strong and independent.
Right.
They're not damsels in distress.
Yeah.
They challenge their partners. They push them to be better men.
So it's about finding the humanity within these larger-than-life characters.
Exactly.
It's about showing that love can exist in the most unexpected places.
I think so.
And that journey continues in the later book.
Right.
In the series.
Yeah, it's not just the same formula over and over again.
Okay.
You get to see the world expand.
Right.
Relationships evolve. Even characters you thought you knew get their own chance at love.
It's a clever way to keep people invested.
Yeah, it is.
And it lets her explore all these different facets of this world she's created.
Definitely.
Speaking of exploring, there's this line in her blog post about the series that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah.
She calls it a 4-part series.
Right.
Like, why emphasize the 4-parter?
That's interesting.
What do you think?
I think it's deliberate.
Okay.
It implies a completeness, a sense of closure. She's not going to leave things open-ended,
Yeah.
No loose ends for readers to worry about.
That's good.
It's going to be a full story arc.
Yeah.
With a beginning, middle, and end.
That's actually pretty reassuring for series fans.
It is.
There's nothing worse than feeling like you're being strung along.
Right.
With no resolution in sight.
Yeah.
But a 4-part commitment.
Yeah.
That feels manageable.
It does.
Like a promise she's making to her readers.
Exactly. And it shows how confident she is in the story she wants to tell.
Yeah.
She knows where she's going. She knows how it's going to end.
Right.
And she's inviting us along for the ride.
And what a ride it promises to be.
Yeah.
Biker romance is camp and glitter, serious themes woven in.
Yeah. It's a potent mix.
It really makes you wonder.
Right.
What other surprises she might have up her sleeve.
Well, we talked about her love of cowboys.
Yeah.
Her dreams of being, a barrel racing tasseled chap wearing Stetsons sporting cowgirl.
Right.
Wouldn't be surprised if she went in that direction.
Ooh. A Tillie Cole rodeo romance.
Yeah.
Now, that's something I would love to read.
Yeah.
I can already picture it like the Stetson-wearing hero and the strong, independent cowgirl.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Who can just ride circles around him.
Yeah.
It's got Tillie Cole bestseller written all over it. But I guess let's bring it back to what we've been talking about today.
Right.
We started this deep dive wanting to know, Like, what makes Tillie Cole tick?
Yeah, what makes her work so unique?
As a writer.
Right. And I think we found that it's not just one thing. It's like this whole mix of stuff. The Teesside upbringing, the academic background, the nomadic lifestyle.
Right.
The love of camp and glitter mixed with the dark and brooding, Yeah,
it's like she took all these pieces of herself and just wove them into this incredibly unique voice.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You can see it in her characters and the settings, even the way she uses language.
Exactly. And it's amazing how she manages to appeal to so many different types of readers.
Right.
You've got those who are drawn to the romance aspect, those who love the biker world, and then those who appreciate the deeper themes and the social commentary.
Yeah, it's like she's created this multi-layered experience where everyone can find something to connect with.
Which is really the mark of a great storyteller.
Yeah, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's not just about entertainment, It's about making people think, feel, and maybe even see the world differently.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that's why I think Tillie Cole is someone to watch. She's not afraid to push boundaries, to challenge conventions, and just create stories that are both entertaining and thought-provoking.
So for you, dear listener, why should you care about Tillie Cole and her Sweet Home series? Well, if you're looking for a romance that's more than just fluff, if you're intrigued by the biker world, or if you just appreciate a writer who takes risks, then Tillie Cole is definitely an author worth checking out.
Absolutely. And even if biker romances aren't your thing, I still think it's worth stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right.
You might be surprised at what you find.
For sure.
Who knows? You might even get swept up in all the camp and glitter.
That's the beauty of reading, isn't it?
It is.
It's about opening yourself up to new experiences. New perspectives, new worlds.
Totally. And Tillie Cole is a great guide.
She really is.
So here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
After everything we've learned about Tillie Cole.
Yeah.
What do you think is that one thing, that one unique ingredient that makes her stories so captivating?
Right.
What is it about her writing that makes you want more?
Think about it. Explore her work and see if you can uncover the magic for yourself.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy reading.